Hello friends, it is me, Elagatua, and I am back with another replay review. This time we're going to be doing something very different than the previous few replay reviews that I've done. We are going to be looking at my very first Global League game. This took place about a year ago, and I had played maybe 2 or 3 kind of scrimmages against one of my friends in Fog before this, but this is about like the 4th or 5th Fog game I've ever played on the site. And so the purpose of this review is to have me kind of critique my own play back when I didn't know what I was doing, and to maybe point out some of the mistakes that I made in my inexperience, to show off something a little bit less polished and more mistake prone than some of the games that I'm putting together more recently. In this game, I am playing Jake because I looked at the map, which is Stalingrad, by the way, and I saw lots of green, and I was like, great, let's pick Jake. My thinking hasn't changed that much in the past 70 games, I think, but regardless, I've got Jake on this map, and I'm playing against... I don't know how we're gonna be saying this, but Komorebe. If it's Japanese or if it's not, then I don't know. But anyway, this is one of Lightens alt accounts, one of the millions of Lightens alts. So I'm just gonna be calling him Lightens or LS during this review. Pretty brutal for me to get matched up against Lightens in my very first Global League game. But that's, I guess that's just the experience that most people get. If you're a up and coming player, you're probably going to run into Lightens in the 900s or 1000s at some point. Just that's how the odds go with his alt accounts. And before we get into the replay, I actually have to spoil the ending. And the reason I have to do that is because it's kind of disappointing. So this game does end in a draw, and it kind of ends in a draw just when it's starting to get good. So if you're watching this for entertainment value, or you're interested in seeing what the result is, I just want to tell you ahead of time that's how it ends, so that you don't waste like an hour of your time and then you're like, oh, the game's over? What? I'm so disappointed. So I'm telling you up front, that's how this thing ends. But it's how we get there and what we learn along the way that is the valuable thing. So anyway, this is Stalingrad, and this is a map that I think is no longer in the Fog rotation, but I think it was in the Fog rotation for a long time and is considered kind of one of the best maps. But also, I think it had been in the rotation for a really long time, and so it kind of had been played out a lot, and so I think people were a little bit sick of it. But by the time that I had joined, right, like I had never played on it before, so there's a lot of contested properties on this map. You get your comm towers here that are far back enough that they're not really contestable. Your main contestable properties, I'd say here, here, and here. Yeah, those are your main contestable properties, and especially in the corners, those can be very valuable to take because they're a little bit hard to lose because the terrain surrounding the city is all zero defense. So once you have it, any attempt to contest the city is going to make whatever contests it vulnerable to counterattacks. Other than that, you got a lot of woods spaced everywhere. There are some mountains decently far back that are kind of far back enough that they don't make a huge difference in terms of vision. Like you can get vision kind of all the way down to here, but that doesn't really help. So yeah, it's kind of very ordinary map and a lot of space to fight. So I haven't watched this replay in a while, so we're going to see what I see, actually. And let me... I'm going to relive the past here, and let me turn off the vision on the other side so that we can get the authentic experience here from my perspective as a brand new global league player having no idea what to do. So in this situation where I have no idea what I'm doing, what I did this for a number of my early games, and actually when I say a number, I mean like 30. Okay. I would just look at the replays of top players on whatever map I was playing on and just copy an opener for the first like 9 to 10 turns and hope it worked. Doing that was much more reliable than trying to learn how to read the maps initially, because a lot of that skill just comes with experience. And so if you're trying to avoid doing anything like really horrifying early on, copying a top player exactly through the first couple of turns to kind of have your handheld is a really good way to go. And so if you're new to Advanced Wars by Web, or you just want the security of a pretty safe early game, I would definitely recommend going into the Discord and looking up the replay archive. You can download a zip file with literally every Global League game that's been played. I don't know if it's like in the past year or how long it goes back, but it goes back a long way, and you get like thousands of games. And so you can just cherry pick, like, find a top player on whatever map you're playing and see one of their replays or see two of their replays. If you really care that much about having a consistent opener or having a good opener when you're not sure what to do, or you can just kind of make it up as you go along. It's mostly just down to how much work you want to put into having good results, or if you just want to play for fun and kind of learn through experience that way. Like, hey, it's not my place to tell you how to enjoy the game, but that option is there if you want to learn in your earliest games without getting like totally smacked by some sort of mistake in the first couple of days. Anyway, with that being said, let's stop rambling. Let's get into this thing. Oops, that's okay. Well, I made infantry. Okay, and so the standard opener, we got to get down to the factory, so this all looks good. I'm going to kind of skip through some of these early turns. Pretty much just me copying an opener. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing a day 3 recon because I'm not a psychopath. That is a thing that you can do, I guess, but that's kind of interesting. Did I base skip there? Oh, I guess because I'm going to use the other infantry. Okay, yeah, all right. It's been a long time since I've played on this map, because I think it hasn't been in the pool for quite some time. So one thing I'm noticing right away, I don't really like this infantry coming over here to get this property. This property is within 2 moves of the initial base, and there's a lot of contested properties down here. I almost wonder if it might be better just to leave this one for later and focus on like this property. I guess that would be skipping a little bit, but anyway, maybe that's not a thing. But especially recently, I've liked playing a little bit more of an aggressive capping style, and I'm not super afraid of leaving 1K on the table for getting more aggressive presence on the map, because sometimes that can lead to getting a contested property locked down a turn or 2 earlier than the harass arrives, and 10 turns later, that's a property that you've still got at the time. So it looks like I'm going a day 4 recon, so this is like the most standard of standard openers. Looks like that's going to be on my weak side, although with the factory layout on this map, technically this top base has the least impeded route here, because this base has a forest and this base also has a forest. So probably by default, this direction is going to be the strong side, and then likewise this would be the strong side. But the difference is not huge, and you can definitely opt to flip the sides, having just that one tile of movement penalty going to the south is not substantial enough to make it a problem if you want to kind of more aggressively contest on this side. So Stalingrad, you can kind of do what you want a little bit, more so than other maps where the strong and weak sides are more clearly dictated by the factory position and the terrain around it. Okay. This cap order looks fine. I don't really see any problems here. I got a recon going down to scout out. And all infantry, so no second recon. Trying to think if I feel like I might have been able to get another recon because I got 5k. I'm gonna have 7k next turn for 12k. So next turn I can do tank, recon, infantry, but that also means that I could have gotten the recon this turn. I might. I kind of think I should have maybe gotten the recon here instead of the infantry, and then next turn could be tank, infantry, because I'm going to be getting the recon either way, so you might as well get it a turn earlier. I guess the infantry could maybe help my cap phase, but I don't know. This is like really minor quibbles. Overall, this seems fine. I'm not losing the game based on any decisions that I'm making here, so it seems good so far. Where could I have moved that? Could I have moved that anywhere differently? I think it'd probably be better to actually move this down to here. This square would give me vision of this city right away. There's no way that he's going to be capping it this early. I almost wonder the value of having this recon out this early on this side, because I mean, if you just look at where my stuff is, right, like, so he's going to be like around here for the next turn or two. So when am I really going to be able to contest? Like, best case, I'm putting like a recon on this city or this city to try and block it. But I mean, it's not terrible. Like, I see stuff early, but I feel like probably could have delayed the recon a bit. And going towards the center, I mean, it's okay. I see the corner city here, so I don't need to nitpick this too much. Okay. Oh, interesting. So I go tank, infantry. I really think that the second recon would be better here. So I'm not sure why I thought I was gonna, need those funds later on, but probably a mistake not to get that second recon out for this side, because now I'm going to be really blind on that side, and I don't really think the extra infantry is going to help me that much. I chose to build the tank from the middle base. That is okay. I mean, I could build it here and then it technically gets out to here faster, but I think that I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted it to go. So if by building it from the middle base, you kind of have the option value to send it to the strong side or the weak side, and maybe I'm hoping that my recon sees something that will tell me where I want to send my tank, assuming that I was even thinking that far ahead, which is not a guarantee. What is up with that cap? Where did that infantry come from? Where did he? Okay, so he's on this city. Could he have gone anywhere else? Maybe not. All right, I'll live with it. Kind of a passive cap sequence. Okay, and so I put the recon on the city here. So now I see his recon, and he sees my recon. So that's fine, I guess. So probably not a whole lot of harass going to be done on the weak side now that we both see each other. But it's kind of good to know, I suppose. Let's see, did I? Here. Okay, one mistake I made is I moved this tank too early. You should be moving your recons first. You want to move the stuff that could affect what you do later in the turn first. So if I move this recon down to here and I see something, that would probably prompt me to want to shift this tank down here to defend against the recon. Maybe. I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but regardless, the recon should get moved first. This tank has no business getting moved over here in that order. So little things like that. Kind of inexperience. I'm probably following the script, honestly. But yes, I'm seeing that new information from the recon vision as like one of the last things that I do. So that's definitely the wrong way to do it. And I get an artillery and a tank. Okay. So maybe all that income management was done to kind of get the power vehicles out a little earlier. So I'm pretty sure I just copied this from somebody else's replay. So I'm not going to overthink it too much. Oops, actually I skipped past that turn, didn't I? I can see where that... I should be able to see where that recon goes. Okay, so that recon goes into the woods. So we see that now. So that's fine. We capture the comm tower. I kind of feel like it might have been better to maybe go here, because we know the recon's here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we instead abandon this comm tower and come here to try and sneak this property, there's a good chance that there's no vision of it. And this comm tower is not contestable. It's too far back. So this infantry can just as easily come here and get the comm tower later on. But if we don't get this city soon, there's a chance that we're not going to be able to get it at all, because it's going to end up being really contested, as it's one of the kind of the contestable middle properties, right? And this is one of our primary properties. So I think there's an opportunity there, and I didn't take it, and I could have. That actually, having this early vision would have helped me with. Okay, but we got a tank on this side, so we're feeling pretty safe down here. Nothing crazy going on at all. And we're just continuing with the cap phase. Move the tank forward. All this is fine. This is very sane so far, so good job. Slightly younger Elagatua, playing pretty sane. And we've got a recon on the strong side now, so better late than never, but it can get out to the front lines pretty quickly because of the terrain. And it's going to get there in time to see what we're going to be fighting into, which is pretty good. So if we're not harassing, then I think getting the recon now is fine. And another tank. So, I mean, tanks go burr. Okay, so now that recon comes in here to block this city, which is kind of annoying, and my tank is out of range, so I can't really do anything about that. So it's got a nice play by Lightens to prevent me from sending this infantry down to the city this turn, at least. Can't really do anything about that, but not the end of the world either. Gonna get a good scout off. It's pretty risky though, in general. It's very possible that I could have like a tank in range to be able to contest this. So and he knows that I've got a recon. So if I have a tank in range of this recon, and I hit it with the tank and then also the recon, and this recon's dead. So this is this is very greedy by Jess, and I probably wouldn't recommend this, but looks like Jess is going to get away with it this time. And that's all we see. So let's see how we deal with this harass here. So instead of shifting down, we're just going to shift to the center. There's a lot of properties to go after, so not a problem. Interesting. So I don't go for this. Is there any way that I could have set up this tank? It's something that I could do. I think it's probably very hopeful to try and send this infantry in to get this city. Now it's like a turn late for that. It's really like 2 turns too late for that. So yeah, it's probably good of me to not go for this city. So that's I endorse that actually. I think it's still pretty aggressive actually to move them into the woods here, but looks like we're setting up to at least get this city next turn. Getting a lot of the center cities, and then preparing to get to the corner city on the strong side. So this is very, very standard. Honestly, it's a pretty nice cap phase. Like, whoever I stole this build from did a pretty good job. Not a whole lot of big complaints, frankly. And a second artillery. So this is maybe a little early for the second artillery. Sometimes if you get a second artillery too early, you can end up getting steamrolled by just a lot of tanks, especially if you're playing against Jess. So it's not bad, but it could be scary on tempo, and especially it's late enough that if we start needing to fight over like these properties because Jess pushes in with a strong side, our artillery might not be there in time to really get value, and we might end up getting those contested properties delayed, which is not great. So I mean, it doesn't feel good to build it on this side either because we already have an artillery over there. I almost wonder, like, how much income did I have? Okay, so we got 15K. Could I have done anything different with that? I mean, the only other alternative would be like copter recon infantry, which is okay. I wouldn't hate that, honestly. Copter recon infantry is not terrible. I don't know. It's fine. It's we're nitpicking. And yeah, it's good positioning, just hiding. Like, all my stuff is in forest, so we're giving away very little information, which I like. I think that's a good way to go. So let's see what we see here. And now this is way too cute. Okay, this is way too aggressive with the recon. It was already too aggressive to put it here, but Lightens got lucky, and now he's just being cute, and he's gonna get punished for it because I've got the tank and I've got the recon. This recon is dunsies. So I mean, he got a little value, but losing the recon for nothing like this is I don't endorse that. I actually think it would be better to move the tank to here a little bit more aggressively, and attack from the bottom. But I guess it's fine. And we see that this corner's already been capped. So our caps on this weak side have been delayed pretty well by that recon. But Lightens could have done all that and also gotten the recon away. And instead, now the leading recon has died, and there's not really a good option for a counterattack there. But at the same time, this city going to be pretty hard for me to lock down. Like I don't have any infantry in range here, so that's unfortunate. But anyway, let's continue on. A lot of cap finishes here. And now I am going to try and take this city now that the recon's gone. This seems pretty ambitious to me. I think this infantry is going to die. I don't remember what happened next turn, so I don't actually know if this was a smart decision or not based on the result, but experienced Elagatua feels like this is asking for trouble, and I'd probably be better off either leaving it in the woods or even retreating it onto the comm tower. I think is fine to play defense, because I think Lightens is very likely to try and do a cap himself, and having an infantry in position to basically deny it when this comes is much better, rather than exposing it on a city where it's very likely to get itself killed next turn. Yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty good. Like, this is very sane. Very defensive. But, I mean, against Jess, like, that's fine. Especially for your first game. Like, this is fine. Good positioning of the artillery. Covers all the vehicles. We see the important contested properties, so if we need to defend those, we've got vision on it. The only thing that's a little bit concerning is our caps on the weak side are a little bit slow. And I think if we had maybe delayed this property a little longer, we could have been out here a little more aggressively, but we still had to deal with the recon. So again, it's kind of nitpicking, but overall, like this, I'm pretty impressed with. I'm impressed with myself. Good job, me. Great job. This is great for a first game so far. But now we're starting to get into the mid phase. The cap phase is winding down, and the utility I'm going to get out of my stolen opener is going to diminish as the game state is going to start to dictate a lot of my decision making, and I'm really going to be in the deeper water without any experience to guide me. So let's see where things go from here. Oh, so interesting. So there was actually a recon here that saw everything. So that's not wonderful. Could I have killed that? Not really. Yeah, I couldn't really have killed this because I need to finish the caps, but and it's kind of annoying that he sees the artillery there, but no harm, no foul. It's, you know, sometimes stuff gets scouted. It's life. And so yeah, so this infantry, I was pretty sure it was gonna die, and yeah, definitely. And even worse, like this tank is back here. I guess I can cover it with this tank, but actually it would have been better if I had put the tank here. So yeah, like last turn, if I'm gonna take this city, then this tank needs to attack here so that it can cover this tile. Okay, so it can't end up here, it can't end up here. It's one of those little things, but if I'm gonna go for it, I need to cover it with both tanks so that I can counter against something like this. Otherwise, the tank's out of position, and it's really unlikely that there's going to be any vehicles coming this far deep. So having it on the road, even though it's lower defense, it needs to be close to the objective that I'm trying to capture. But yeah, if I don't go for that city, then it doesn't matter as much. But since I'm going for that city, it's a mistake what I did. What? What's going on with this infantry? Is this... I'm so confused. Where did this infantry come from? It's here. I have so many questions. I wonder if this is maybe like a replay viewer bug. Like, if that infantry is here, it should have killed this infantry. So something is wrong here. I don't know exactly what's wrong. Something's weird. Wow, okay, and now I see, like, anyway. This recon should not be here. This recon is asking to die. This is too aggressive. I kind of feel like, oh, well, my opponent had the recon here, so I can put the recon there, but it's too late for that. The odds of this recon getting seen are super, super high. If there's a recon anywhere on this side, it's going to get spotted going into these trees, and if it gets spotted, like, look at all this infantry. There's no way that this recon's not going to just die. So, I can't cap this city this turn. So instead, the recon should end up on this city, because I can't cap it anyway. But this is too far forward. And I go for the planes hit on the tank. This is a little aggressive. It's a little aggressive. Especially having, like, no information about my opponent's comp. To only have one tank and then go in there. I mean, it'd be better if I had the other tank here and then I could come onto the city here with the other tank and then pop it. I also think I got a really good roll there, right? I think that was like a pretty high roll, because I got like a 9-3 roll there, which is not... That's like the best case scenario. So I was even lucky to get that, because really what I should be doing is I should come with this tank onto the city. I should move this infantry back, pull the tank on the city, and then finish it with the tank on the plains, so that my city tank takes the first counterattack. But anyway, so yeah, this feels like I'm overstepping my bounds on his strong side, and this is a little frisky for me. I'm not gonna lie, this is a little bit uncomfortable. What I really should be doing is focusing on securing these caps, because my caps on this side have been really delayed. I see all this infantry, so I know that these caps are going to be really contested, and forget about this. Like, I'm never getting this city, right? Like, it's hopeless. So I don't know if that infantry is actually alive or not, or what's going on with this guy, but I should be pulling this infantry back because it's a lost cause if it's in fact still alive. And then I go for this cap on the other side. Let's see how I support this infantry. So if I'm going to go for that cap, I mean, I think it's fine because I've kind of secured everything else on my strong side. So, excuse me. Putting in some pressure here. Actually, I'm going to pause this for a second. Let me get a water and pause. Boom, and we're back. Now with water. So hopefully I will stop coughing. So, we just took this property. Let's see how I'm going to support this cap with the rest of my units. I think one mistake I've made already, I really should be figuring out what I want to do with this recon first to make an informed decision about whether this is capable. Since I have the artillery here, I actually think sending the recon here first is not a bad idea. After all, we saw the recon leave there, so we know that that tile is empty. It's pretty defendable for me because I have the artillery to back it up, and it's on my strong side, so I mean, we ought to be strong, right? So just like This is probably an overextension for me on this side. This is probably not an overextension. And so again, use your recons first in most situations. Let the information that you get from your recons inform what you're going to do with the rest of your turn. You don't need to decide your entire plan before the turn starts and then just move. You can do things in an order and then adapt to new information that you discover along the way. Sequencing is really, really important, especially as you get into the upper tiers of fog. It's very easy to sequence things incorrectly, and I see top players even sequence things incorrectly. I still sometimes sequence things incorrectly, and it causes missed opportunities or bad decisions or just like units getting picked off, things like that, like really preventable mistakes. So be conscious with how you're sequencing your moves. You can have a plan at the beginning of your move, but carry out the plan in a way that lets you adapt it if you discover something you don't like or discover something you do with the movement, or with the vision that your movement brings you. Okay, so good job, me. So I do end up moving the recon in. I should have done that earlier, but hey, better late than never, right? At least I moved it before I did all my other moves with my power units here. So now I see the recon has pulled back to the comm tower. And I can't really contest this property because that's been stolen already. I can definitely contest this property, especially because we got planes here and here. So any infantry attacking into this will result in a guaranteed kill because both of the infantry are going to get plus 20%. So this tile is for sure on lockdown. And really, I don't need to threaten this with any vehicles because the infantry, we've got enough infantry here within range of this city. They can just deny the city forever by themselves. So really what I ought to be doing is I ought to be bringing my vehicles down here to support this cap. Uh-oh, and I just bounced out of the game. Oops, let's, all right. Okay, we're back. We'll cut it in post, but we won't actually. Oh, see, all right, this is nice. All right, love this positioning. It's so good. Okay, so when you're positioning artillery, you want to make the plus. Especially when like woods are involved. So this is especially the case when you have artillery that are in woods, but we're kind of benefiting from the plus here. But by creating this plus, this tile, whatever comes on this tile can only attack like one thing. So it's going to be very hard to break through here because you basically need an anti-air to be able to come here if you want to break through to the artillery. Or you need to be able to get through to the other side of this infantry, which is unlikely to happen. Or I guess there could be like a tank here, but that'd be pretty surprising, right, to come across here. So, and I think I'm going to bring this infantry down here to block the backside. But yeah, pluses are the way to go. So you don't need to like create a box. Box is bad. Plus is good. Rules to live by. Oh, well, I think this would be better here. Just in case there's a silly little tank there. Kind of unlikely. I guess, is a tank? It wouldn't be in range. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, no, I take it all back. Well, if there's a tank here, though, it could get a city shot off on my tank. So if Jess has, like, all the tanks over here, then it could be scary. But we saw a tank over here to begin with, so that's pretty unlikely. So it's fine. Then we sneak in the tank to the woods, and we've got an anti-air out. So this is a pretty good time for an anti-air against Jess. And anti-air is good in general to be able to break through walls and pick off single infantry that are out and about in a single attack. So definitely good to have one anti-air running around. And then we bring our tank over in artillery range, which is fine, I suppose. But we're suffering from the consequences of our prior poor movement when we were clearing the recon, because now this tank is not in position to support the infantry. Wow, a third artillery, sorry, tank artillery tank. Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know about the third artillery. That feels a bit much to me. I've got 1K left. This should be a triple tank. This should just be triple tank. Don't like that. We don't know where the fight's going to happen. We're kind of spread out, but the third artillery at this point is too passive, and there's going to be a brawl. It's Jess. Jess is going to have 1 million tanks. It's going to be hard to protect infantry against the CO powers for Jess. 3 is too many. 1 on each side is fine for now, but the third one's, that's not good. Okay, now we're going to get slapped here. And that's a little scary because Jess is coming in with the tank deliberately into artillery range, because that recon sees the artillery. So I'm guessing there's a wall break coming. Yeah, so Jazz is going to be able to get through all the artillery, and there's a tank to pop. Yeah, so the positioning was okay here. But I think if I'm going to put the artillery here, I think that it can't start in vision of the recon to begin with, because it's kind of like the artillery is never going to get value. It's either going to get broken, like it gets broken here, or it's going to get ignored, because my opponent is either strong enough or not strong enough to get to the artillery, and either way they're going to make the appropriate play based on which one it is. So I feel like this kind of can't work, and it was a little bit foolish to try, but we potentially could get some nice counterattacks on the army here, because the tanks are a little bit exposed. We'll see what comes of that, but okay, I don't know. I guess I don't know what happened with this infantry over here. Maybe that was real, I guess. But anyway, that infantry should have retreated last turn, but it didn't. So that's what we see the anti-air come in, so that's nice. We don't have any copters, which is probably a little bit surprising for a Jake by this time of the game. So anyway, so we kind of got popped on both fronts, honestly. And we're being a little bit over-aggressive on both sides, too. So I don't think it's unfair that we got wrecked. Our infantry are in good position to contest this city, though. So I don't think we're going to be in trouble defending this. But it's not just about defending this. We also need to secure this. And I think one of the mistakes that I'm making kind of from a strategic level is, you can see my forces are kind of evenly distributed between the strong side and the weak side. And I actually think this is kind of a strategic mistake. I think it would be better to more strongly lean into either the strong side or the weak side. So we don't know how our opponent has distributed their forces, but we know how we can distribute our forces. And if we distribute more of our forces over here, or whichever side we pick, we can be more confident that we can be aggressive on that side, because we've got more stuff over there. So like kind of the worst that we could do is run into an opponent that also has all their stuff over there, and then it's kind of even, and we learn that they've got all their stuff over there, and we make a new plan. But the trap here is that we've distributed everything evenly, and so now we kind of don't know which side we can be aggressive on because we've split ourselves evenly. And so like probably our opponent is strong on one side and weak on one side. And it seems so far that they're pretty evenly split. But if we had everything like over here, or at least more stuff over here, we would know that, hey, we can counterattack into this and we need to play back further here. So it would make our decision making a lot easier. Instead, we're like, well, I could counterattack into this, but if my opponent is reinforcing this side, then I'm going to be overextended. And so like I've kind of created a dilemma for myself needlessly. Anyway, enough about that. Let's see what I do here. So obviously, definitely got to contest that city. I got some lucky rolls there, and also that should have been done in the other order. This infantry should attack first, and this one second, because of the plains bonus. Don't ask why. That's just how it's supposed to be. If you attack with the road infantry first, I think it increases it from like 30 to 50-50 to kill that. So anyway, we got lucky there, is what I'm saying, to clear that infantry off. That was really lucky. Although it is just infantry, so we didn't take a lot of damage, but just infantry still have the same defense as everybody else. So okay, and we are really, yeah, I don't know about that. That I don't think this infantry should either be capping this or being adjacent to the city, or like blocking for the artillery wherever I put it. I don't love the fact that he's in these woods, because being in the woods is not that, it's not great when the tank is still there. Anyway. Yeah, because if this infantry is not there, then maybe I can cap both of these and force like an infantry fight here with the artillery covering. I can't make it all the way to the woods here, but this artillery, my opponent shouldn't know that this artillery exists. So this artillery could stay back here, and all these guys are going to draw all the aggro, and then we've got an infantry capping this city with an artillery behind it, and this city will get denied by the infantry more than likely. Although it is just infantry, and just infantry are terrible at dealing with cities. So anyway, this could have been used better. That's my point. And instead, yeah, don't love this, because again, this is the same kind of situation. First of all, this infantry can get picked off, and then this artillery is exposed. So again, when you put your artillery deliberately in the opponent's vision, you're only going to ever get value. Well, you're just never going to get value, right? Like, I guess like you can defend your stuff, but the best thing that I could expect here is my opponent retreats. Like, that's the best case scenario. So don't love that. And it looks like I'm actually maybe shifting. I want this to be my strong side. Okay, so I kind of like this, because all this stuff over here is out of position. So like all these infantry are like headed up this way. So this might cause problems. We'll see. But any chance that you get to force Jess infantry to try and contest a city cap without a vehicle seems good to me. So I'm down with that. Okay, so we get a tank pick off. So I think in the end, like, we lost some infantry, and then we took a hit on the artillery, but we got a tank in return. And importantly, the place where this fight is happening is good, because if Jess wants to continue this fight, Jess is going to have to extend onto my side of the map. The downside is that if you look at the meter, it's time for a Jess power. And having these tanks on low defense terrain, I mean, they're on my side of the map, but they're barely on my side of the map. Like, these tanks are asking to get clobbered. And I think, well, I've kind of created this problem for myself, but I'm being really aggressive into a Jess power, and I think I needed to be more aware of the flow of the game. Because right now, Jess's first power is a big power spike for Jess. So as Jake, you need to be defensively minded around this time so that you don't get smacked. If you get smacked, at least a little bit, then that's going to give you a block rock to counter with, but you need to have tanks alive so that you can block rock. If all your tanks get killed in the first Jess power, your block rock's not going to do any good. And I go for the early Neo tank here, so I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I love it more than I like it more than Copters, and I like it because we're going to get block rock soon, so that Neo tank's going to be able to get to the front lines pretty quickly. But at the same time, I don't like it because we're tank brawling right now, and I can only send that Neo tank to one of my sides. So we'll kind of put a bookmark there, and we'll see if this ends up being a good decision. So this is fine. We lost the infantry, but just had to spend 3 infantry to be able to clear that 1 infantry off the city. And now 2 of those infantry are injured, and the rest of them, I mean, they're in a really exposed place where if I have anything left after I get murdered by the Jess power, you know, all 3 of these could very easily die. Like if we could get those 2 and then stick the recon on the city and clear out the 3rd, like that could be a really good trade for us. So even though we lost the infantry, I think capping it was a good play. Although we do see the anti-air come in there, so that's a little spooky. And the tank retreats. Okay, so I guess Jess is playing very defensively here, and a tank comes. I'm really surprised that Jess just didn't power and send those 2 tanks into my 2 tanks. To me, that's really surprising. I feel like I deserve to get smacked there, and Jess just let me off the hook. Jess is just retreating everywhere. So what I should be learning from this is Jess's strong side, and this is Jess's weak side in terms of how Jess is allocating the units. Though it is entirely possible that this is a trap, because, I mean, this feels like bait. But there's no... We're going to see how smart past Elagatua was. There's no reason for me to go here. At the absolute most, I should be consolidating these 2 cities and going absolutely no further, given the state of the game. Let's see what actually happens. Oh. I didn't realize that labs don't give money. So I'm like, I'll sneak the lab for an extra 1K. Haha. Okay, this is... Don't do this. Don't do this. That's just silly. Don't retreat all your infantry and then send like 2 infantry on a stealth mission over there. There's no way that that's going to work. And honestly, I probably should have scouted with the infantry first, because I saw like stuff go over this way. Because then I want to put the recon here to hit so that I can get vision of this infantry. Because really, I should be killing both of these infantries. Or at least getting like 1 hit off in the infantry. I feel like if I had done this in a slightly different order, I could have gotten a hit off on the infantry there. Oh, this is totally silly. All right, this artillery has no business being here. This is way too far forward. No way. This artillery should be right here. Or maybe right here. So again, this comes down to just knowing what state the game is in. I'm the one who needs to be on the defensive because it's time for Jess's power. So I'm getting way too far forward here. How many turns is this game? Oh, all right, we're actually getting pretty close to the end. All right, so like I mentioned early on, this game ends in a draw. So I apologize, but just as it's getting good. So we're getting pretty far into the game. Okay, so I got the Neo Tank. It looks like we're going to be sending the Neo Tank south. Okay, at least we are... Okay, so wisely, we are retreating on this side. So I think, like... Whoa, double artillery? Alright, this is... I really was a fan of the artillery, I guess. I think I'm playing Jake, and I'm like, Jake, artillery, get extra range when the superpower happens. So I'm going to build like a bazillion artillery. Again, this is my first Global League game, so I'm not completely aware that I should just be making like a billion tanks. And frankly, at this point, I should be mixing in probably a copter, at least one. But I wouldn't hate triple tank either. But yeah, 2 artillery, this is like... If Jess shows up with like a lot of tanks, I'm just going to get steamrolled. But at least I do retreat on this side. So that is correct. And the positioning is nice. Like, we got a lot of stuff on towers. This anti-air does not need to be here. This anti-air should be back in a forest. The anti-air is a counterattack unit primarily. The anti-air in this forest can cover all this, especially knowing that there's likely to be a block rock coming. So putting it here just makes it vulnerable needlessly. It can be back here, and then that would allow me to put this tank maybe like here. Something like that. Or maybe switch the positioning of the recon in the tank. I don't know. But regardless, the anti-air doesn't need to be here. Tank being here is kind of fine, I guess. It's back far enough. So this artillery gets exactly what it deserved. See, this turn would have been... It could have been exactly the same, but with the artillery here instead. And it would have been a much better turn. It would have been... Maybe my infantry would have taken a little more damage, but the turn would have been just as good with the artillery a little further back. Or even here, right? Like, those were the 2 places I suggested putting it there, so... well, I am right now, and I wasn't right in the past, unfortunately. Okay, so we're getting close to the supers. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get powered there, but I guess Jess got enough damage without the power to not need it. But we are going to at least get the recon. And some of these units are a little bit overextended. It's going to be hard to attack into like this line here. Because once you get into here, you get really vulnerable to counterattacks, especially into just super, or even a just regular power. But those units are very exposed, so... Okay. Look at that juicy extra 1K I get from the lab. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, I can't cap this city because I needed to use it to finish off the infantry. What was this attack? I picked off the 4 HP, and I guess I saw this tank and I got scared off, so you know what? I'm okay with that. At least I didn't try to like send this tank into this tank. Because I think I realized that I'm going to get super powered, and so like I need to be far back. And this artillery is like this tank moving back is kind of a trap. Like I'm kind of begging, well, if Lightens is disciplined, all this stuff is going to die in the power and it's going to hurt. If Lightens is undisciplined, I'm going to have a really juicy counterattack here. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this is kind of a sloppy attack. Like, I need to be anticipating that there's more tanks back here. Like, it's not a surprise that there happened to be a tank here. That's what Jess does. Jess just builds lots of tanks. So I should be expecting that. It looks like we are pulling back even further on our strong side. Hey, the triple tank deploy. I like it. I like it. So we're being pretty defensive on the top side. But we're likely to get really massacred hard down here. So yeah, that's about right. That's about what I expected. I got totally wiped out down here with just reinforcements and lost a ton of infantry, and now I'm pretty solidly behind. I am at least avoiding getting wrecked over here, and I think Jess might be taking that city. I couldn't really tell if something moved on there, but I should be able to contest that pretty easily with my infantry. It's not really a problem. But yeah, I probably time to block rock and yeet. But I feel like if I'm going to play defensive here, it would be much better served to just actually have these tanks shifted down here. These tanks have just been chilling here doing nothing for a while. Let's see what happens. Yeah, block rock. Ooh, that's nice. Okay. And the extra range on the artillery pops a tank. It's the next level. That's such a sick play, actually. That is such a sick play. So this artillery positioning is actually genius. Wow. What a big brain play. Moving the Neo tank onto the city with no vision about what's back here is it's a decision that can be made. Sure hope there's no artillery anywhere here that will be able to counterattack with a superpower. And even, I mean, just super into a city Neo that's also supered is like, yeah, it's not horrible. I feel like you kind of have to do it that way anyway. One thing that's really bad on the side, like we had no recons. Like if we're fighting into this, like we're totally blind. So we needed to have built recons earlier. Like maybe instead of this artillery, I've built so many artilleries. I've got 2 artilleries on each side. This is too much. It's too much. We need vision. This is a really passive block rock on this side. Like, I mean, I didn't go in. So really, the previous few turns, like these guys have all been doing nothing. If you want to power, you want to really send your whole army in. If I had had like 3 of these tanks here instead of here in this corner, then these guys could have shifted down, and I would have seen like all the units pour in here, and then the block rock counterattack. Like I could have really crushed this with the Neo tank centerpiecing that attack. Instead, these guys are just, well, they're doing nothing. And now I'm going to get supered, so let's see the damage. So Jess Copter comes in on the Neo tank. I don't know about that. But yeah, so then I get Neo'd here, so that's kind of the downside, right, of yeeting the Neo tank in without vision. The counterattack's pretty brutal. I will say that this Neo tank absorbed a lot of damage that maybe would have been better off getting distributed towards other units in my army. This is a full yeet. Yeah, like I need to be back. Like I need to be back further on this side. I can use the infantry to interrupt the caps, but the rest of the stuff needs to be back. They're not accomplishing anything by being here, other than being in overdrive range for Jess's entire army to get a first strike on. And I'm going to get absolutely stomped here. Although I will say, this is an overextension by Jess. I have a lot of units hidden here. Look at this. 3 tanks in woods and another on a city, and this artillery is going to be full next turn, and I got a full anti-air. I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like this is Jess's mistake. Like, it's I should be back further, but also this is like, if Jess is going to come in here, Jess needs to also be able to hit some of these tanks. So I'm wondering if Jess was like too far back. Because now this counterattack should be pretty bloody. Like, look at all the tiles that these guys are on. Like, these are really low defense tiles. Yeah. Do I like that? I'm not sure if I like that. Okay, so this is the correct retreat over here. Like, I am in big time trouble up there. Okay, I kind of like this. This is a little bit cute. It's like an overextension punish, but he just tries to get crazy and go after the Neo tank. He's going to get punished. He tries to go crazy and get the artillery. He's going to get punished. And this Neo tank, surprise Neo tank, is at a minimum covering this this tank. So I don't hate it. I think it's kind of a nice defensive play. I mean, I think the composition is pretty awful, but if you've got artillery, like, I think this is a pretty good way to use it, honestly. I feel like we could have gotten more out of this. I don't know about the exact tactics. I kind of feel like we could have put this together a little bit better. But at least we defended the caps. And I don't know if this infantry could have actually delayed this cap anymore. I think we're correct to just leave it there for a rainy day. Because we're really outmatched on that side. Ooh, so Neo ends up in artillery range. And that tank, okay, I guess he's going to send the anti-air into the other artillery. But starting to get really overextended here. Okay, so And actually, Jess does not see this second artillery at all because his anti-air doesn't have range. So this is going to turn into a really strong turn for me. I'm under a lot of pressure on this side, but if I can deal with these caps, we're gonna be in a pretty good situation. Let's see what I do here. Huh. There's no way I'm getting that super right. And I guess I'm doing this for the extra planes damage. I'm trying to decide whether I like this or not. It's kind of a desperation move. I'm not entirely sure I hate it though. Because we really need to deal with this Neotank. Like if we get this Neotank dead, we could potentially swing the momentum. And Jess is really overextended on this top side. But at the same time, like I saw a bunch of infantry come up this way. I don't know if I can actually contest this. I think Jess might have too much infantry up there. And let's see what happens. So we one-shot that anti-air. That's pretty good. Wow, I mean, that's nice. What a turnaround. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Lack of recons, really painful. Don't love using the tank to be able to kill this infantry. Like, if we had a better comp here, like if this was a recon, we want to send the recon out here to look for targets. And use, like, we can use the infantry to delay these caps. But we really want to be using the tanks to look for vehicles in this direction. But we can't see them, so I think alternatively, if we're going to start, maybe start by sending one of these two tanks here, hit this anti-air. I don't know if that would quite be a one-shot, but it might be. At least that would give me some vision of this side. Again, sequencing. Yeah, like that would have been good to know at the beginning of the turn. Because at the beginning of the turn, we could have maybe hit that anti-air with this tank and then send this infantry down to interrupt the cap. But instead, we did it in the wrong order. And sure, we cleared off the infantry, but we could have just let the infantry stay there until next turn. And this is a much more valuable target than, 3 HP on an infantry. Yeah, and we're not even going to be able to hit this anti-air at all. So we would have gotten a planes hit with a tank on this anti-air, and instead we got some chip on an infantry. Not great. But still, it's a pretty nice turn. We're about to get supered though. I think for another Neotank. All right, really loving the Neotanks, but the damage has been done. I'm gonna lose this city, and I'm already down this city, so we're down 4K I think after this turn, which is not great. He pulls back over here. He pulls back up. He pulls back everywhere. Is this where we draw? I think we're close to the end here. A little bit surprised that we didn't get powered there, but I think maybe the Neotanks are just too scary. So we're moving to try and get this city back. We're going to try and pick off the retreating units here. I like that. That's pretty nice. We got a chance of getting this back. We picked off the infantry. Okay, I don't like this. These guys need to be supporting these tanks. So pulling this guy back here does nothing. We're going to pull him back somewhere. Pull him back here. We are really leaving these tanks to die. Like, these guys are out on an island. Maybe I just thought that like they were dead. But if I thought they were dead, I shouldn't have put them up there to kill infantry. Okay, so it's like you got to pick one. You either let the infantry live, or you send everything up to that corner. But you can't just leave the tanks to die. Like you don't have that luxury. The tanks are too valuable. That's a lot of net worth up there. I don't like repairing this Neo tank anymore. I think 3 HP is good enough, and probably that money would better be invested in new units. Let's get some recons pushing out, so that's not bad. We're going to get some vision, and we're getting some objectives, potentially. But we're not, I mean, we're taking this cap, but we're not supporting it at all. So it's really unlikely that we're going to finish this cap. So, I mean, I think like our best case scenario is like we can get this property back, but we're still going to be playing down 2K. Really surprised this is not a super. Surprised not to get punished more, considering how exposed these guys are. Like, these guys are kind of also asking to die. Okay, and then we drew. All right, so I think I'm in pretty bad shape. So we're going to lift the fog of war here in a second and kind of see what's going on. But I'm posturing to take these two cities back. And actually somehow completed this cap. I'm shocked that I managed to get that. So I'm only going to be down 3K. Which is, I mean, it's salvageable if I can get one city back soon. The problem is that Jess has the super queued up. So whatever the next fight is probably going to hurt pretty badly for me. But let's see realistically, like what state was the game in? Oops, let's get our fog back on. Okay, so actually, in terms of net worth, we're doing pretty well in net worth, although we did use some of that for repairs, but we're actually slightly ahead on net worth, and we're even on unit count. So that's kind of surprising. There's some Neo tanks coming down here, and then there's a whole ton of stuff that is prepared to counterattack up here. So I think it's really unlikely that I'm going to be able to get this city back. That's almost certainly not happening. I think it is. We got the Neo tank advantage down here, at least for a little bit, and we got the artillery. So I think if we played our cards right, like we have a decent chance of getting this, and we've got no chance of getting this. So I think the draw is kind of fair. But knowing what I know here, looking at the board, I think I'm probably slightly behind. But it's not a decisive disadvantage for me. But anyway, that was my first game, and I thought I did pretty well. Honestly, looking back on some of the things that I did, I mean, obviously, like there's a lot of rough edges and a lot of inexperience going on in this game. But I mean, it's like literally my fourth or fifth global. It's my first global league game. It's my fourth or fifth game overall, like ever. And there's a lot of good stuff happening here. Really, probably should have made more tanks and maybe a little bit less artillery. But hey, it's you got to try something to know whether it works or not. And I think I held my own against Lightens, who is a 1300, 1400 player, somewhere in that ballpark. So yeah, I think well done to past Elagatua. You think you represented future Elagatua pretty well, and if you continue to play games past Elagatua, you'll be off to great things with some more experience under your belt. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this replay review, especially if you're a newer player. I hope you may have learned something from the inexperienced mistakes of my former self. And stay tuned for more videos in the future, especially some wild games that I played while I was climbing the ladder and learning new matchups for the first time and trying out new strategies and things like that. There's a lot of good ones that are very entertaining that don't end in draws. So look forward to those in the future. But for now, I'll leave you with that. Have a wonderful new year and see you next time.